Imagine walking through your home with fresh eyes, not rushing, just noticing. The things you touch every day, the things you've saved for years. A piece of jewelry, a favorite chair, a painting, a collection tucked away in a box. These items aren't just stuff. They carry memories, meaning, and pieces of your story. Today, we're talking about how to plan for those personal items in a way that feels clear, manageable, and actually doable. This lesson is about personal property. And here's the good news right up front. If all you do is watch this video, you'll walk away understanding what counts, what doesn't, and what your next step could be. Anything beyond that is optional. Helpful, but optional. Personal items often get overlooked in estate planning because they don't always feel big enough, but they're often the items people care about the most. And when they're not planned for, loved ones may be left guessing. Guessing can be stressful. Planning brings clarity. Let's start simple. Personal property generally falls into two buckets: tangible and intangible. Tangible personal property is the easiest to understand. It's the stuff you can physically touch. Furniture, jewelry, artwork, collections, musical instruments, tools, clothing, household items. If you can pick it up or point to it, it likely belongs here. Now let's talk about intangible personal property. These are things you own that don't exist physically. Examples include copyrights, royalties, prepaid burial plans, season tickets, and digital assets. And yes, NFTs fit here too. Even though they're digital, they still represent ownership. A helpful way to think about them is like modern stock ownership. You may not have a paper certificate, but ownership still exists. For planning purposes, they're considered intangible. Here's the key distinction to remember. Tangible items are physical. Intangible items represent ownership or rights. Some people choose to make specific gifts. That might mean a particular person receives a particular item, often something sentimental or valuable. This can feel very meaningful and personal. Others prefer a shared system. Loved ones may take turns choosing items, or a neutral person may oversee the process. Some items might be sold and the value shared. This approach can work well when fairness matters more than specific objects. And sometimes, people choose to give a trusted person the ability to manage what happens with anything that isn't specifically listed. The important thing isn't the method, it's that your wishes are clear enough to guide others. Many people create a personal property list, a simple written record of items and who they'd like to receive them. In some states, these lists may be recognized if they meet certain requirements. In other states, the rules are different. That's why it's important to understand that state practices vary, and that list may need to follow certain formats to be effective. So what can you do right now? You can start noticing which items matter most. You don't need to list everything you own. In fact, most people don't. A helpful rule of thumb is to focus on items that are either financially valuable or emotionally meaningful. That could be jewelry, art, collectibles, heirlooms, or anything that might cause confusion or disagreement later. As you think about these items, clarity matters more than detail. Describing an item clearly and noting where it's kept can make a big difference for the people who may need to find it later. You might also notice that some items matter more emotionally than financially. That's completely normal. Planning for those items can be one of the most meaningful parts of this process. What about cars, boats, or other items with titles? Those are still personal property, but paperwork matters. Ownership details may affect how they're handled, so they're often planned for differently than everyday belongings. And finally, there's the question of everything else. The items you don't specifically list. You can decide in advance how those could be handled, whether through a system, a sale, or someone's discretion. Even having a general plan can reduce stress later. Before we wrap up, let's consider what the next steps could be. If all you do after this video is understand what tangible personal property is, how it differs from intangible items, and why planning for it matters, that's a win. You could explain this to someone else, and you'd know what questions to ask next. If you'd like to take a small next step, there are a few simple questions below this video. Answering them helps you start capturing the items that matter most to you. Nothing final, nothing fancy. Just a place to begin. And if you're someone who likes to really get organized, there are optional tools in the resource section of the My Estate Kit app that are available to help you go deeper, like understanding your state's general requirements, reviewing what documents you already have, and bringing everything into alignment. Any step you take today is progress.